In today's episode, I take a look ahead at the final week of Rugby World Cup warm-up games, of which there are 9. So if you love watching rugby, you are going to love this weekend because 9 games of rugby is a lot. We also learned the fate of 2 English rugby players this week who will both miss their opening campaign for the World Cup against Argentina. Yesterday we found out, and then this morning we found out another result. So that is going to bring some drama and some excitement to the opening game of that group as well. We learned some additional 33-man squads that have been announced. Obviously, I touched upon Wales, which you can watch right here by clicking this video. But also France, Italy, and Tonga have announced their 33-man squads as well. My name is Ryan, and this is the Chip Over the Top podcast mid-weekly roundup. So welcome. If you are new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Make sure you leave this video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe for more content and leave a comment on this video and let me know your thoughts, what you're looking forward to about the World Cup and everything as well, rugby related. So before we talk about the weekend's action, let's briefly touch upon the elephant in the room. There is no elephant in this room. What am I referring to? The 2 red card offences, Billy Vunipola and Owen Farrell. My goodness, yesterday after a 13-hour arduous, it was a very long wait that we had to find out. Kept refreshing the page on Wales Online and it was finally decided that Faz would miss 4 games. And then we found out today that Billy is missing 3, which is going to be reduced sentence to 2 if he attends tackle school. I know what you're thinking. The math is not adding up. Yes, you are correct. Owen Farrell set to miss 4 games. He is going to miss 2 of the World Cup games, not 3. And that is because he sat out the England v Ireland game, which they counted as 1. And obviously England played Fiji this weekend, so that's 2. And then the opening game is Argentina, so that's 3. And then he misses the next one. But really, that is the most important. If they beat England, if they beat Argentina, they're probably going to go top of that group. So that is actually a big loss for them in that regards. Obviously, there's still controversy surrounding these issues, but I rate Owen Farrell as a player. I think he's a very good fly half, but obviously the tackle situation does need to be resolved and it needs to be fixed because we can't keep having these situations where, for example, a player from Tonga, George Moala, received a 5-week ban from a tip tackle. I think it was reduced from 10 because it was a first sentence maybe, but still, when tier 2 nations are again handed these 10, 12-week bans or whatever, but then you look at the top tier nations who are kind of getting off a little bit easier for that regards, when they should be the ones setting the example and the example should be set. There's obviously going to be controversy surrounding it. So there we go. Moving on. This weekend we have a blockbuster of rugby fixtures, as I've already said, starting off with New Zealand versus South Africa this Friday in Twickenham. What a game that is going to be. Able to watch as a neutral. If you are there, you can go and watch it. It's going to be class. They are both stacked teams. This is not a friendly warm-up. This is a test match series, and it's fine-tuning, right? In the last meeting, New Zealand beat South Africa 35 points to 20. So you're gonna look at the South African squad and you're gonna be like, they're out for blood. They're out for revenge here. Eben Etzebeth and Faf de Klerk are back in the squad. Obviously, Siya Kolisi is back in the squad, captaining it as he builds on fitness to get ready for the World Cup. Will he play a full 80 in this one? Time will tell. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more of a tougher challenge for them. But I think he needs the time, he needs the minutes ready to go into the World Cup. And obviously, he had a great performance against Wales while he was on the field for 42 minutes. Now, we saw Keenan Moody playing an absolute stormer on the wing against Wales, gifted a couple of tries, obviously. But nonetheless, he's moved to the outside centre, which means Mapimpi and Aronza are going to be taking up the wing slots for them. And that is a deadly backline for South Africa. But not to knock South Africa. New Zealand, captained by Sam Cane, will have 2 Barretts in the back lines, a Jordan, an Awani, a Mwanga, and a Smith. And my goodness, This game is going to be epic for a neutral. Just as a fan of the sport of rugby, you're going to absolutely love this game on Friday at Twickers. On Saturday, we see England take on Fiji, which will be a very interesting watch for any Welsh fans out there, because we, again, obviously saw what Fiji did against the French B side, but England's going to put up more of a starting 15, maybe. Obviously, they've picked their 33-man World Cup squad now, so we know we have 31 players to pick from. Obviously, Billy and Owen Farrell not being included in that. And Mitchell's obviously been brought into that squad instead of Jack van Poortvliet. So will he get a start? We will see. And like I said, it's going to be an interesting watch for Welsh fans because obviously Wales play Fiji in the opening game of the World Cup. As well, on Saturday, we see Scotland taking on Georgia, which will again be of interest to Welsh fans because obviously Georgia and Fiji are both in the same group as Wales. And we must beat both teams in order to progress. We lose any one of those teams, safe to say we're not making it to the quarters. Following on Saturday, Chile will also play Argentina Select 15, while Spain takes on their counterparts of Argentina. Ireland take on Samoa, Italy takes on Japan, Portugal, who lit up the Rugby USA Eagles team, play an Australia A team, which I think will be probably one of their toughest tests going into the World Cup. And the counterparts for the Australia A team, Australia take on France, which is going to be an absolutely epic game. Speaking of France, France have selected an incredible 33-man squad, captained by the man himself, Mr. Antoine Dupont. We're looking forward to him. Interestingly, France have only selected 2 fly halves, obviously with Ntamack getting that knee injury prior to the game, prior to the World Cup. He's out. So they've selected 2, but they do have Jaminet, who can play fly half. Obviously, Thomas Ramos is the kicker for them. So that obviously takes the duties away from the fly half position, actually, kicking for the point. So that makes slightly easier for them. I'm sure they'll be able to find a suitable replacement for Ntamack. Obviously, they have Hastoy as well in there. So we will see. The Italians have selected an interesting squad. They have a lightning back 3 in Capozzo, Wani, and I'm not going to try and butcher his name. I do have it up here. Paolo Adogwu, who used to feature, I think he was selected for England back in 2021, maybe, but he didn't make the squad. So that will be an interesting back 3 lineup. He scored a try on the weekend just gone, and that will be a very, very exciting back 3. Now, and interestingly, Italy have selected 4, yes, I said it, 4 scrum halves, which is 2 more than Wales have selected. So it'll be interesting to see what their rationale here is. I do believe that Kieran Crowley said that some of those scrum halves are versatile players and can play elsewhere as well. So that was, I guess, the rationale there. And he does have some decent scrum halves coming through, Varney, for example. So we'll see what happens. Tonga, they omitted Israel Folau, which is a big shock, but that was probably due to injury, which is a shame. They do have George Mawala, who did pick up the red card, 5-week red card ban, who's a former All Black centre. So he is in the squad. He will be joining them midway through the groups. So that will be a good pickup for them. They do have one more person to name, I do believe, but we'll see who that is. And they've also selected a former Wallaby in Adam Coleman, but he hasn't yet featured for Tonga. So hopefully he will feature at some point during the World Cup for them, which will be of good benefit for Tonga. So yeah, based on what I've said so far in terms of the games, the squad announcements, what are you most looking forward to? Leave a comment below and make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it thus far, and obviously subscribe for future content. Diolch Yn Fawr. In other news, Jacko Piper is going to be the referee for the opening game of the World Cup. Obviously, that is of importance because he will referee England this weekend against Fiji. Opening game of the World Cup is France from New Zealand, which is going to be an absolutely incredible opening game. I'm really excited, looking forward to that game as well. So, Speaking of the World Cup, we also learned that the shot clock and the TMO bunker will remain. If you didn't know what the shot clock is, it's basically the 90-second countdown that each fly half or each kicker for the team has to nail the conversion or a penalty, which will just help speed up the game. And that's going to be being utilized at this tournament. And the TMO bunker, obviously we've seen some controversy coming from that with like things being overruled and whatnot, but hopefully it improves and they just get it nailed and we don't have any more controversy like the Owen Farrell incident, for example, which took, has taken 10 plus days to get to a complete verdict. Hopefully none of that during the World Cup. We want to make sure this World Cup is absolutely incredible, because as a neutral, as a fan, you want the growth of rugby to be there, right? And the World Cup is clearly, it's the Super Bowl for Americans, for example, and it is the penultimate sporting event, in my personal opinion, because obviously I'm a big rugby fan, play rugby myself. So we want to make sure that rugby is on a national stage, an international stage rather, at its best capacity. So hopefully no incidents and it's just all good fun and good entertainment and good watching. And good rugby, obviously, and we want to make sure that, there's no red cards that reduce teams down to 14 players, which could have been a close game and then it went one-sided. Obviously, that's the nature of the sport, but we want to make sure that, as Steve Borthwick liked to say, there's 15 players on a field for each team at any given time. The Women's World Cup has been, the venues have been announced for 2025. Obviously, we have 4 teams already qualified. That is Canada, France, New Zealand, and England, because they placed their highest placed seeds in the last World Cup. And the next bunch of teams will be seeded from the Women's W15 tournament and also regional tournaments that are happening in 2024. Now, ending on that note, speaking of the women's professional game, a sad note to say that Elle Snowsill, the Welsh fly half, who has been featured heavily for Wales over the past few years, she's gone to 4 World Cups. She's represented Wales 76 times. She's played for the Barbars. She played for Bristol Bears, has announced her retirement effective immediately from the sport of rugby, but playing only. She's now going to take up a coaching role for Cardiff Met University. Now, although I didn't ever get to meet Elle Snowsill, she did do a kicking camp here in Washington, D.C., but I never made it to that. But I did get a shout out for that. So I will end on that note. Here's that video. Remember, if you like this content, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and of course, Diolch Yn Fawr. Thank you very much for watching. Here's that video. Enjoy.
Yeah, hey, Welsh guy in America. What's his name? Ryan. Shout out to Ryan.